In a small medieval town with blocky stone-built houses, a villager with a bowl-cut hairstyle wanders around, sighing and complaining about how terrifying the boss is. He talks about the boss's overwhelming presence, shaking his head at the thought of facing it. At the same time, he yells in disbelief that the mysterious shadowy warrior managed to bring it down to half health. Nearby, a spiky-haired adventurer listens before scoffing, saying it's ridiculous that someone could get taken out instantly by the boss's water pillar attack. His companion, another adventurer, starts talking about the countless small monsters running around the base of the water pillar, making the whole battle even more chaotic. But then, a particularly ugly and mean-looking monster, known as Big Ugly, steps in. Instead of fighting, he tries to rally the smaller monsters, delivering a half-hearted motivational speech. He tells them that great losses are just part of life, but they shouldn't let that stop them. Unlike the others, he refuses to believe the fight is over and insists they move forward, even if they do so slowly. Meanwhile, far away in a dark, swampy area, heavy rain pours down relentlessly. Every step through the murky water sends ripples across the surface, and the steady sound of footsteps echoes through the mist. A shinobi, his long cape fluttering dramatically in the wind, strides forward with unwavering confidence. His aura flares up, making it clear that he is growing stronger by the second. Surrounding him, massive golden orbs float in the air, shimmering against the stormy backdrop. Standing nearby is a frail-looking mage, her clothes ragged from countless battles. The shinobi turns to her with a smirk and says that he is back. He casually calls her Little Black, which might not be the best idea, considering how easily people take offense these days. He then raises an eyebrow, noticing the sheer number of lifespan orbs around them. The little mage, unimpressed, crosses her arms and smirks back. With a teasing tone, she remarks that the so-called expert has finally returned. She lets him know that a group of unruly people were all over the place, but were one-shotted by the water pillar. Shadow looks at the orbs, deep in thought and laughing to himself as if they were chihuahuas, thinking of themselves as being huskies, overestimating themselves. He can't help but remember his last life, suffering greatly under the ghost ship as well. He looks at the specter treading the surface of the water slowly, with the ghost lamp burning at the helm. This bony ship releases a paralysis skill only once, and then it's a piece of cake to knock out its health. But that's where things get interesting. Instead of receiving a well-deserved beatdown, the ghost ship starts teleporting when it reaches half health, reappearing far away, with normies finding it difficult to kill it. But he is no normie. He unleashes an Emerald Gale poison dart. The dart shoots at the ghost bells, causing the specter to raise its wand and screech at the top of its non-existent lungs. Ripples of lilac energy travel through the swamp, but Shadow, weapons in hand, is ready to face the energy head-on with his own Assassin's Conqueror's hockey in a turbulent mixture of frosty blue energy and shadow tendrils. He walks away, looking at its movement patterns and using instant shadow kill to slash his way through uncertainty. The group of idiots from earlier stand at the cliff edge, trying to hype up their boss that the idiot is fighting the dungeon boss again. The powerful boss stands tall, trying to act confident. It declares that sooner or later it will find the right moment to take down both of its enemies. But Little Mage is not the least bit happy to see the boss again. As she takes a good look at them, she quickly realizes something. They've come back for another fight. These fools just don't know when to quit. If they think they can keep causing trouble without consequences, they're in for a rude awakening. With an intense glare, she grips her wand tightly, her fingers pressing into the handle as if she'll never let go. Sparks of electricity crackle around it, building up power. If these rebels want to fight, she'll give them one. On today's menu, crispy, deep-fried idiots. Without hesitation, she unleashes a massive storm of lightning, sending bolts crashing down from the sky. The entire battlefield lights up in blinding flashes as the rebels are struck. For a moment, their skeletons can be seen through their bodies like something out of a cartoon, and those who survive are left trembling, their knees wobbling from the aftershocks. After delivering a generous serving of electricity, she takes a step back, watching as the rebels slowly recover. Their dazed eyes flicker toward her, their anger growing. They start yelling and pointing at her, vowing to strike back and teach her a lesson. Meanwhile, Big Ugly, the meanest and ugliest of them all, steps forward dramatically, making a big show of his words. He waves his arms around, his voice full of rage as he declares that the so-called witch has just signed her own death sentence. But there's one little problem. Little Mage has used up all her lightning. With no more power left, she does the only thing that makes sense. She turns on her heel and bolts, running away as fast as she can. The rebels immediately give chase, their shouts and stomping feet echoing behind her. As she dashes forward, she passes another group of warriors, dressed in dark clothing, their expressions completely unreadable. They simply stand there, watching in silence, their faces emotionless, as if none of this chaos concerns them. Meanwhile, Shadow is having the time of his life, realizing that it's almost dead. and dead men tell no tales. Although it's only a level 5 mob, it's still hard to kill it solo. But he flies alone, with puny damage being inflicted each turn. The battle is taking way too long. He looks at the spectators flocking around him, realizing there's Group A, the idiots on the cliff, the ones who just died. Then there's Group B, waiting for Big Daddy to kill the mob before swooping in and stealing his kill. The ugly skeleton starts screeching, with toxic fumes swirling around its hollow eyes. The system window congratulates him, leveling up his charisma and getting lifespan points and evolutionary points in return. The skeleton specter raises its hands to the heavens before disintegrating in a column of golden light. Meanwhile, Shadow vanishes from sight, as if he's been asked to pay child support. The system window announces to the nearby civilizations that Shadow is the OG of killing a golden great boss. The civilians hear this announcement, with mixed expressions running through the crowd, wondering about it being the first kill, and also, where the hell is this dude's hometown? Some can't fathom how he's so strong. A spiky-haired guy looks at the heavens, reminiscing about fighting Shadow just recently, seeing him take on a bronze boss by himself, and now he's soloing a gold boss. This is true solo leveling. Shadow stands there, deep in thought, wondering why the gap in strength between him and the others is so massive. Beside him, the mage finally understands. Shadow isn't just strong, he's on a whole different level, almost like he's the chosen one of both heaven and earth. She isn't interested in riches like a gold digger. Instead, she's after power, hoping Shadow can help her level up. Meanwhile, glowing energy orbs swirl above the swampy water, casting strange reflections. In the distance, Group A gets completely distracted by the mountain of loot before them. One of them narrows his eyes, suspicious. He mutters that Shadow must be using some invisibility trick to stay hidden. Determined to flush him out, he orders his lackey to activate a special skill. If they can find Shadow, they'll take him down, just like he took down the boss. Not far away, a small but skilled archer lifts his bow, carefully nocking an arrow. With steady aim, he fires a phantom arrow. The arrow morphs into a Patronus from Wish.com. The holographic bird soars through the air while suffering from a shedding problem, phantom feathers raining all around the area. Shadow, on the other hand, is unimpressed. Looking around, translucent feathers covering his robe, he realizes it's an anti-invisibility skill, but it's no match for his level 1 anti-invisibility spell. The wannabe archer looks at his group, concluding that he must have run away after seeing his haircut. His fellow says that at least he's smart. Meanwhile, walking through the swampy surface, vowing to protect the loot first, they're on their guard. In 5 minutes, they can claim ownership rights. They're waiting around for their takeaway meal, but instead of getting any freebies, they are sliced to ribbons by a familiar series of frosty blue shadowy strikes. Shadow looks at the idiots falling to their knees, turning into life orbs. Without turning his head, like a true badass, he whispers that it's quieter now. He also wonders, where is little mage off to? But he decides to forget about it. He'll find her later. He's had enough evolutionary points to upgrade Greedy Hand. He upgrades his skill, which can now be used on monster corpses, increasing the loot drop. He smiles, looking at the loot, reaching out for it, gathering all the light and squeezing it. The light starts to condense, creating a column of energy. He receives the rewards from earlier, triple-fold, as well as a pair of ghost balls, the ghost fire bell. He realizes that he has an extra set of balls now. It has an intimidating factor where he can paralyze everyone for about 3 seconds. As it's not an equipment, it takes very little space. A voice calls out to the expert to save her. This causes Shadow to wonder, what is it? He can't even aura farm properly, with little mage crying for help. He looks around, wondering, where is she?